Hello and welcome to the Pearson EdXL English Language 2.0 Exam Skills Series. In this video, we're going to look at what is meant by the skill of analysis and explore what the examiner is looking for when answering an analysis question. For the purpose of the exam videos, we're going to be using the Summer 2024 series exam papers. Let's start by looking at what is analysis. In the context of your GCSE exam, this means carefully looking at language and structure choices a writer uses to understand how they create meaning and why they've made certain choices. Analysis appears in Assessment Objective 2 when you're asked to explain, comment on, and analyse how writers use language and structure to achieve effects, influence readers, and use relevant subject terminology to support their views. The skill of analysis appears in both papers of the English Language 2.0 qualification. We can see it in Paper 1, Question 3, and in Paper 2 twice on Question 2 and Question 4. It's a core skill that examiners want to see across both reading sections. It's important to note the skills in Paper 1, Question 3 and Paper 2, Question 2 is language only. However, in Paper 2, Question 4, you are assessed looking at both language and structure, and to achieve above a Level 2 response, you must include both. Let's look at where analysis appears and how it differs between Paper 1 and Paper 2. In Paper 1, the analysis question, which is Question 3, is entirely focused on language, and you can draw out evidence from anywhere in the text. The important thing to note is that this question is broad, in the sense that you are identifying what interests or engages the reader. In Paper 2, the skill appears twice. In Question 2, you're directed to a specific section of text, so you need to zoom in closely on how language is working there. Most importantly, you are looking at a particular focus. For example, if we look at the screen, we can see that the question asks how the language makes Mount Doom an unwelcoming place. Question 4 works in a similar way, but it extends the tasks. On screen, we can see it asks how the text presents both language and structure in showing survivors climbing to freedom. Question 4 allows you to consider the whole text. You are not just discussing language, you must also comment on structure. And the important point to achieve above a Level 2 response is that you must include language and structure together. So remember, Paper 1 gives you the freedom to choose the evidence from across the text, while Paper 2 requires precision first, followed by a wider overview that blends language and structure. This is a typical Paper 1 question. You'll be asked to focus on the short extract and explain how the language creates meaning or builds a particular impression. Pause the screen now to read. On the screen, you'll see that we've highlighted key parts of the question. These are going to guide your analysis. Let's take a closer look. We need to use language which tells us to focus on specific words or phrases or techniques that the writer has used. Interest and inform the reader. Here you need to think about purpose and effect. Why have we made those choices and what do they want the reader to feel or understand? The whole text means you need to cover multiple parts of the text and not just one quotation. Try and show how the language works across the piece. The examiner is looking for evidence that you can do more than spot techniques. They want to see real insight into how language or structure works. Here's what that looks like. Picking out specific words or short phrases, choosing meaningful quotations that give you something to say in answer to the question set. Don't just copy out whole sentences or feature spot. A powerful adjective or a well-chosen verb is often enough, but you need to link it back to the question. Commenting on the connotations or deeper meanings. Think about the associations of a word. For example, does storm suggest danger, chaos, or conflict, and what that might imply about a situation or a character? How might this interest and inform the reader? Identify language features like repetition, alliteration, or emotive language, labeling them where you can. However, don't stop there. Ask yourself, what impact and effect is this having on the reader? Why might it be interesting, informative, or engaging? Most importantly, explaining the effects or purpose. This is where you show real analysis and think about why the writer has made this choice. What are they trying to make the reader think, feel, or imagine? And remember, always link it back to the question and keep the reader in mind. That's the heart of a strong analytical response. Before we head into response, let's remind ourselves the aim of this skill. What is it really testing? It's testing your ability to analyse language choices. This is your chance to show how well you can interpret the text as well as writers' use of language. Not just spot it, but explain how it works and why it's effective. The following response was written by a student in their actual exam. It's important to note that this is part of a full response, but it does give us a clear insight into what a strong analysis looks like. The student scored full marks, 8 out of 8 overall for this answer. Pause the screen to read their response. Notice how the student has used short and relevant quotations directly from the text. They don't copy out long sentences, but instead they choose specific words and phrases that help them say something meaningful. Their answer is focused and purposeful. They've accurately identified the technique. They don't just spot the device it's used, it's been named clearly, and we understand how it functions within the sentence or a description. They've explained the meaning and the effect. They go beyond saying what the writer has done, and they think about why it's been done. What does this word or technique suggest? This kind of response shows a clear analysis, not just feature spotting, and that's the kind of thoughtful, developed answer that the examiner is hoping to see. Here are a few top tips to keep in mind when you're tackling an analysis question. If you're stuck, start with a word. Ask yourself, what might this make me think, feel, imagine, or picture? This will help you to get into the habit of responding to language and not just identifying it. Think, have I linked back to the question? It's easy to drift into a summary or a description, but the strongest answers remain focused on what the question is really asking them to explore. Using subject terminology, but don't lead with it. Knowing terms is really useful, but what matters the most is that you explain what the technique does and how it affects the reader. You might find using a writing structure helps. For example, PEE, point, evidence, explain, what, how, why, can help you to organise your thoughts and make sure you cover everything that the examiner is looking for. So that's analysis, a key question that shows your ability to read between the lines and explain how and why writers use language in the way they do. Keep practicing this skill and consider what is your go-to structure for success. Thank you for watching this Pearson EdExcel English Language 2.0 video, and we'll see you next time.